Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the September 14th edition of the Slap Effect podcast. I am your host, Mr. Anthony Long, and today we're going to just take a few minutes and we're going to talk about something that's very, very important. I don't know if you've seen it in the news, but it took effect last week. And actually, there is a new gang law that took effect in the state of Alabama. This gang law is pretty much a law that I believe is one that was put into effect to really affect and come after our young men in the Black community. At no time was there anything mentioned in regards to any specific race or gang type. When this law was put out, it went into effect last week on the 8th, I believe. And I just think it's very important that we look at this real quick because it's going to be targeting a lot of the young men in our community. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start. We're going to go to WFSA for the report.
We're taking a look at a new law that went into effect this week. It enhances penalties for felonies committed to further the interest of any criminal enterprise. The goal is to decrease gang violence in Alabama. Political reporter Aaron Davis has the details on how the law will do so.
During the 2023 regular legislative session, it was a priority for Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall to support a bill that gave tools to law enforcement to attack what he says is a gang violence problem.
We've seen violent crime rise in many of our larger cities as well as some of our rural communities. We're able to tie that activity directly into what's going on with our gang.
Defined in the law, a criminal enterprise is a group of 3 or more people. A person who meets 3 of 10 indicators can be identified as a member. Those include a specific style of dress, the use of a hand sign, or known gang association. Marshall says the crimes they commit are also escalated.
Those are the ones that ultimately show up in the stories where we see the sad tales of completely innocent victims that are harmed as a result of the choice that many of those make that are involved in these criminal enterprises.
If you're found guilty of a crime that benefits a gang, you'll receive much stricter consequences. Depending on if a firearm was used, you'll face between 5 and 35 years in prison.
This is really a new tool in the toolbox for law enforcement and prosecutors throughout our state.
The law deters kids from being affiliated with gang-related activity. Anyone at least 16 years old charged with criminal gang-related activity will be tried as an adult.
They're making very adult decisions, particularly when they are using a firearm to commit that activity.
The Attorney General's office will train law enforcement on this specific type of arrest and help prosecutors take these cases to trial. Aaron Davis, WSFA 12 News, Montgomery.
The law received bipartisan support in the State House.
All right, as you see, the Alabama Attorney General seemed to be very happy about putting this law into effect. And he specifically said that it was going to deter kids from being part of gangs. Now, the very most important thing about this is the way that this law is set up. The law is called SB143, the criminal enterprise law. You can go and you can Google SB143 and the law will come up and you can get a PDF and print it out yourself. I just want to go over a few things that are very important in regards to this law that I feel will affect our community directly. Okay, so as I said before, it is called the SB143 criminal enterprise law. Now, next, let's just go ahead and look at what they call a criminal enterprise member. A criminal enterprise member is any individual who meets 3 or more of these identifying factors. 3 or more of these identifying factors. And let me just share those identifying factors with you. So a criminal enterprise member is an individual who meets 3 or more of the following at the time of the planning or the commission of an underlying offense. He admits to being a member of a criminal enterprise, is voluntarily identified as a criminal enterprise member by a parent or guardian, is identified as a criminal enterprise member by a reliable informant, adopts the style of dress of a criminal enterprise, adopts the use of hand signs identified as by criminal enterprises, has a tattoo identified as used by a criminal enterprise, associates with one or more known criminal enterprise members, or is identified as a criminal enterprise member by physical evidence, has been observed in the company of one or more known criminal enterprise members 4 or more times. Observation in a custodial setting requires a willful association. This paragraph may be used to identify criminal enterprise members who recruit and organize in jail, prison, and in other detention facilities. So basically what they're saying is, if a young man or a young man is seen and is identified by three or more of these factors, he will then be considered a member of a criminal enterprise. Well, we already know that we have a big problem with these young men, and they really like to sag. Understand that a young man sagging at the school, and all you need is this. If you have a young man that's sagging his pants, he's throwing up some gang sign, and he's talking as if he is in a gang, or saying any type of gang slang. We know that we have young men that walk around here and they say, "What's up, cuz? What's up, blood?" So those are identifying factors, and if there are 3 of them, they can be identified and then put into a file as a criminal enterprise member. If a young man is wanting to try to hang around the older crowd, and these gentlemen have been shown to be criminal enterprise members, then they can also, if they're there 3 or more times, can then be identified and told by law enforcement that they are a criminal enterprise. One that really gets me is the one where it says if they're identified by a reliable source. I'm just wondering what their concentration and consideration is as to a reliable source, because there is nothing in this law that strictly tells you exactly what the guidelines of those are for. So understand also the promoting or the putting of pictures or taking videos and putting them on social media. So think about it. If you have some young men out and they have a gun in their hand, they're throwing up gang signs, singing a song, and they're sagging, and it's put on social media, those are 3 immediate identifiers. And if there are enough of those videos, they can then, by law enforcement, be put into a gang, criminal enterprise gang member category. And then as from that point on, they will be looked at as such. So the next thing that really caught my mind on this is the identifying weapons that they say will identify someone as being in a criminal enterprise. So it says a machine gun, a short barrel rifle, or a short barrel shotgun. And the law reads as such: upon finding beyond a reason of doubt that a criminal enterprise member has committed the charge or offense for the purpose of benefiting, promoting, or furthering the interests of a criminal enterprise, the following sentences shall be applied. Now understand this. These guns are identifying factors. So if they're seen on social media with one of these guns, and they're seen as benefiting, promoting, or furthering the interests of a criminal enterprise, and beyond a reasonable doubt, they are then found to be committing any type of crime, on a conviction of a Class A felony, there shall be punishment of no less than 25 years. On a conviction of a Class B felony, there shall be punished for a Class A felony, which means 25 years. And on the conviction of a Class C felony, they shall be punished as a Class B felony, with is 15 years. Any individual who knowingly possesses, uses, carries a firearm during the commission of any criminal act with the intent to benefit, promote, or further the interests of a criminal enterprise shall be punished as follows: to a term of imprisonment of no less than 5 years. Now, so you got a bunch of boys out and they're see some other boys they don't like, and they get into a fight and there's no weapon present, they could get up to 5 years, excuse me, no less than 5 years. No less than 5 years. If a young man is out with his friends and some of those friends have been identified as gang members, and this person is in the fight, they will then be identified as a gang member and will receive no less than 5 years. Now, this is where it gets real deep. Understand, if a machine gun, a short barrel rifle, or a short barrel machine gun is used, if a firearm is brandished, to a term of imprisonment of no less than 7 years. If the firearm is discharged, it's to a term of no less than 10 years. If you are identified as a criminal enterprise member / gang member, and you do an armed robbery and you hold up the gun, you're going to first of all be charged for the armed robbery. And then, because you are a criminal gang member, you will be charged. Excuse me, let me look real quick. You will be charged as a gang member, and you will receive 7 years. So if you go out and you do a robbery and you pull out the gun, you're going to get charged with the strong arm robbery. And then you're also going to be getting charged with a criminal enterprise member brandishing a gun. So I believe the sentence for that is automatically 15 years. And then they're going to add another 7 years on it because you are a criminal enterprise member. So think about that. You're going to go from serving a 15-year service sentence to now serving 22 years. And in this law, it states that if one of your charges is a criminal enterprise charge, that it cannot be ran concurrent. It must be served in full. It says right here, if a firearm possessed is a machine gun, a destructive device, or is equipped with a firearm silencer, there's a term of imprisonment of no less than 30 years. The term of imprisonment imposed under subsection shall be served day of day and shall not be reduced or suspended by any provisions in the law. No term of imprisonment imposed on a person pursuant of this section shall run concurrently with any other term of imprisonment, including any term of imprisonment proposed pursuant of this section. What they're saying is that you will do year for year. An offender sentenced pursuant of this section, who also is convicted of a violation under this section, shall serve the term of imprisonment imposed pursuant of this section before serving the term of imprisonment pursuant to this section. So what they're saying is the section before, if you brandish the firearm, that's 7 years. If you discharge it, that's 10 years. If it is a machine gun or any gun that has been made to be automatic firing or has a silencer, that is an additional 30 years on top of that. Now, that's the sentencing guidelines on this, ladies and gentlemen. So understand, young people, that you can do one crime, and if they consider you to be a member of a gang, you will then get up to 3 charges and can be looking at spending the next 30 to 50 years of your life in jail. The Attorney General, in coordination with the district attorney, shall annually report to the legislator the number of convictions secured by this law. Once again, a Class A felony 25 years. And this is if it's just a regular gun. A Class B felony, punished as a Class A felony, 25 years. A Class C felony, punished as a Class B felony, 15 years. For crimes that are using a firearm. Once again, if you brandish the gun, it's 7 years. If you discharge the gun, it's 10 years. If it's a machine gun, it's 30 years. So just imagine if you get an assault by a criminal enterprise member on somebody, that's 5 years. If at that same assault you pulled out a gun and brandished it, that's another 7 years. If you discharged it, that's 10 years. So already you're at 15 years. And because you're already identified as a criminal enterprise member, they can add any additional charges to that. Say if you elude from the police, say if you get a resisting arrest, all of those charges will be added on to the years that you're giving, and they will not be served concurrent. You will serve each term in full with no possibility of parole, with no possibility of early release. I just wanted to take a few minutes to come and show you that. Also, it says that anyone who is committing, excuse me, let me get this real quick. It says anyone that commits an act or conduct which is committed by an adult which would constitute the following shall not be subject to jurisdiction in the juvenile court. Excuse me, anyone who commits this act who is 16 years or older, but it will be put and committed as an adult would constitute any of the following shall be not subject to the jurisdiction of a juvenile court, but shall be charged and arrested and tried as an adult. If you are a criminal enterprise member and have been identified, a capital offense, and you are under the age of 18, a capital offense, a Class A felony, or a felony which has an element thereof the use of a deadly weapon, so that's a knife, a felony which has an element thereof the causing of death or serious physical injury, a felony which has an element thereof the use of a dangerous instrument against a person who is one of the following: a law enforcement officer, a correctional officer, a parole or probation officer, a juvenile court probation officer, a district attorney, a judge, a court officer, a person who is in the grand jury, a teacher, a principal, the trafficking of drugs in violation of section 13A 12-231, any lesser including offense of the above offense charge or any lesser felony offense charge arising from the same facts and circumstances and committed at the same time as the offense listed above, provided however that the juvenile court shall maintain original jurisdiction over these lesser included offense if the grand jury fails to indict of any of the offenses that were stated in the subsection. So if you're brought in front of a grand jury and you're not found guilty, or excuse me, the grand jury doesn't want to bring you on any of those offenses that I just mentioned, but they still have you on other offenses and you're under the age of 18, then the juvenile court will then be able to control your courts. I know that is a lot. I'm going to, when I post this, also put a link up. This bill went into effect on the 8th of last week, I believe it was. I'm bringing this to everybody's attention for the simple fact that this bill was straight made in regards to our Black in minority communities. This crime bill, I'm putting it up there for you, SB143 Crime Enterprise Bill. As I said, you can go and you can Google it. Just type in SB143 Crime Enterprise. This bill was put on the legislator and was passed in order to try to really put a cramp on our young Black men. Parents, pastors, preachers, teachers, youth sports coaches, it's up to us to begin to look hard at these young men and women and to begin to check them for the things that they're doing and the people that they're trying to be that we know they are not. I would hate to see one of the young people that we know end up going to jail for the rest of their lives because they wanted to belong to something that they really know that they aren't a part of. We have to be careful about who they're hanging around with. We have to be careful about who they're talking to. We have to be careful about the music they're listening to, the lyrics they're saying, what they're posting on their social media. If we do not get a hand on our young people, then the state of Alabama law enforcement departments will. The attorney general, and I don't hate him for doing his job, but understand, he said that gangs are getting out of hand. But we face white supremacy. We face poor boys. We face all these other gangs that walk around with semi-automatic weapons, say whatever they want, do whatever they want. And if you understand, he said our young kids, he didn't say any and all groups that promote criminal enterprise activities. He specifically was talking about our young Black youth. It's up to us to begin to move in our communities and begin to give these young people something else to look for, something else to want to be. As I said, I would hate for us to begin to lose them because of these laws. I'm anticipating very soon that we will see a news story about some young child who ended up getting tried on this law. Because believe me, they didn't put it into effect to sit back and not start to promote it. And as he said, and I quote, "This is just another tool in the toolbox of law enforcement to begin to get our children and our gangs off of the streets." SB 143 Criminal Enterprise Law. Google it, please. Look it up, read it, get to know it, talk to your children about it. All right, everybody, I just want to leave that up there so you can get it. I want to thank each and every one of you for getting on here and being here for the last 30 minutes. I just want to let you know that the Slap Effect podcast is brought to you by myself, Anthony Long. Slap was made up by my father back when I was a young youth and I was going through a lot of things. Slap simply means this: slap with your heart, not with your hand. Smile, listen, appreciate, and praise. If we begin to smile, listen, appreciate, and praise our young people more, instead of always trying to look at the bad things that they're doing, they'll begin to realize who they are and what they can do in this world. Because each and every one of them was made for a purpose. Each and every one of them can prosper if they are put in the right position and pushed in the right direction. I thank each and every one of you for coming, and I want to give you my closing thought of the day. Please remember, register to vote. I'll be talking the next podcast about our Alabama state legislator trying to rewrite the congressional law so that we will have at least 2 districts that represent the Blacks that live here in Alabama, because right now we really only have 1 district that has true Black representation. I know people sit around and they say that voting doesn't matter, my vote doesn't count. Well, if you sit around and you complain about how things aren't getting better, excuse me, and the way things are, if you're not registered to vote and you're not voting on your community level, because the change starts in our communities. I hear people say all the time, oh yeah, the councilmen and the city councilmen and the commissioners, they don't care. Well, how can you say that when you won't even vote? How can you say that when you won't even do what all of our ancestors and all of our were slaves for, and all of our civil rights fought for, and that was the right for us to be treated equal as much as possible and given the right to vote. Please register to vote. It's very easy for you to do. You can go online and just simply type in register to vote, and it'll send you to the website. I'll also have that on the link when I post this, so that you can get yourself registered to vote. Some people say, oh, I've been committed of a crime. Well, there have been legislation that's put in so that depending on your crime, you still may be able to vote. But we can't do this alone. We have to do this together. It starts with each and every one of us taking on our individual voice and voting. Each and every one of us taking the time to look and see what's going on in our community, to watch the city council and the city commissioner meetings on YouTube, and to stay up to date with everything that's going on. Because believe me, we live in a Republican-driven state, and the Republicans believe like this, and this is what my dad taught me. A Republican says if you have a mother cow and a baby cow, you feed the baby cow. A Democrat says if you have a mother cow and a baby cow, you feed the mother cow, because the mother cow can then nourish the baby cow. So if you look at our world and our society, am I right or wrong about that? See how different we're treated, see how different we're looked at. And remember, it's up to you to get educated. It's up to you to educate yourself. Nobody can educate you but you. I was always told by my father also, if you want to keep something from a black person, put it in a book. Pick up a book and read it. Instead of being on social medias, look at the news, stay in tune, and remember, register to vote. All right, y'all, I'm out. Have a good day, and God bless you.